Say you want to talk about your family and birthdays, a social event. You want to tell your friend from the UK who speaks English about something that happened with your family. How do you do this? Learn this today on the Social English Podcast, where I'm going to fix the English of someone here who has asked for my help. Okay, the topic is birthdays. Roll the intro, Hikari.
皆さんこんにちは。毎日少しずつ社交に使える英語の上達を目指すソーシャルイングリッシュポッドキャストへようこそ。今日はぜひもっと自信を持って英会話してみましょう。Are you ready, Percy? Let's go!
Welcome back to the Social English Podcast. Thank you, Hikari, for that awesome, amazing intro as usual. I am your host, Percy. And if this is the first time that you've came to our podcast, welcome to the Social English Podcast, where we help you to learn a little bit of social English every single day. Okay, in today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is how to talk about birthdays and how to do that correctly in English. For today's episode, we have a listener who wrote in and they asked me to fix this English dialogue for them that they wrote, and they want to speak it and say it to one of their friends, but they do not know how. So I believe they used Google Translate, and it did not come out correctly. So we're going to tackle that soon on today's episode. But first, before we start, as every episode, let's go into our English listening and learning mode. How do we do that? We do that by visualization. I want you to picture me and you in a cafe of your choice. Maybe your favorite cafe. And at that cafe, we're having coffee or maybe a tea or beverage of your choice and a snack. I am Percy. I am your American friend. And we are sitting there having a great time talking about English. And we're discussing how to fix English and say things the correct way in today's episode. So today's episode of the Social English Podcast, we are going to do an English Repair Shop episode. Okay? So let's start with the topics, and I will go ahead and read the dialogue that was asked to be fixed and corrected in proper social English. And then afterwards, I will tell you what I would say and how I would say what they are trying to say and the correct English. Okay, so let's start. Here is the Japanese learner of English. Here is their dialogue. My sister and I threw the party for my mom last week. My mom is age of 77. My sister and I throw the party for my mom last week. My mom is age of 77. Okay, so now that you've listened to that particular dialogue, I am pretty sure that you have already heard some mistakes. So, what were those mistakes? Okay, great. I am glad that you've heard something. Now, I think that I would put this at a intermediate level of English, because we're using a past tense in this particular dialogue. Okay, so let's go ahead and correct that, run that through the social English repair shop machine, and see how that comes out on the other side. Here is the social English version. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. My mom turned 77. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. My mom turned 77. Okay. Now, did you hear the differences in that particular dialogue? If you did, then you are definitely learning social English. So let me explain to you why this is social English. When we talk about my sister and I threw a party for my mom last week, we are thinking about the listener. Who are we talking to? This is a common sentence pattern that you would learn in an Eikaiwa school. But the second sentence, my mom turned 77, we are raising our inflection at 77 because we are showing our excitement, how excited we are that not only our mother had a birthday, which is exciting, but also that she turned 77, age of an older age, of what we call in America a senior citizen. So a person of older or advanced age. This is an exciting announcement to make to someone. So you want to emphasize how excited you are that your mother reached that goal or that age. Okay? Okay. This is awesome. So this is what makes this a little bit more of advanced, not just conversational English, but social English, because a birthday party and where you may be discussing this is definitely a social situation. Okay. Let's go a little bit further. Let me say each sentence. Okay. First, the incorrect or wrong sentence in the dialogue, and then I will say the social English correct English version after it and repeat. Okay, so here we go. Let's start. My sister and I throw the party for my mom last week. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. My mom is age of 77. My mom turned 77. Okay, so that is the social English version. Let me repeat it one more time, completely in real speed, both sentences together in the dialogue in correct social English. Let's start. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. My mom turned 77. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. My mom turned 77. You can also change the last sentence by using this alternative version. So you can use a different version. Please listen. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. She turned 77. My sister and I threw a party for my mom last week. She turned 77. Okay? All right. So if you noticed on the second version, she turned 77. I'm slowing down and I'm building up think of it as the power, the vocal power or the emphasis to 77. She turned 77. I'm making a big deal. I'm making it very clear that her turning 77 is very important and exciting. So I slow down. She turned 77, like that in a social English situation. Okay, so this is the way you would talk in a conversation with someone that you're trying to convey to them how important it was for her birthday and turning that age. Okay? That's pretty much it for today's episode of the Social English Podcast. Thank you for spending that time with me today. I know that you learned something very cool and very valuable from today's lesson. Also, please come and visit us at realsocialenglish.com. You can get my free download, The 7 Mistakes Most Japanese Learners of English Make and How to Fix Them. You will also find more resources to help you get better at English every day. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and now Pandora. You can also become a patron. Help the show by donating $3 to $5 American to help out the show. If you can't, 300 yen or 500 yen, absolutely acceptable, and we welcome any donations like that to the show. We will also show you our appreciation and thank you by me personally giving you a shout out at the end of the show and thanking you for becoming a patron. You will also get new content that is only available at the Patreon site. You can find us at patreon.com/social English. That is patreon.com/social English. Share our podcast on your social media with your friends and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd really appreciate it. If you did enjoy our podcast, please share with others. Okay, once again, it was great talking to you today. See you next time, and please learn more social English every day. Hikari, kick the outro.
今日は楽しい時間をありがとうございました。ぜひ私たちのウェブサイト realsocialenglish.com を訪問して日本語訳と役立つ情報を手に入れてください。また次回お会いしましょう。バイバイ。See you next time. Bye bye.